Hello instructors and welcome to the instructor tool overview. So in this video, I'm actually going to go into depth with the instructor tools that are available to you. But first, let me give you a quick overview of the site. So the first thing that I want to note is that there are three main windows, and these three main windows are also accessible by the students. So the students can see these three windows as well. So the first window is actually an activity description window. And this window just either provides a description of the activity, sometimes it can provide a reading, but it's mainly a place to store some text that can help the student with whatever activity that they're doing. And the great thing about this window is that it is collapsible. So you can collapse the window, expand the window, and if there is no kind of text, then the student can go ahead and hide the window, so that way they only have two windows on their screen. And now the second window is actually the coding window. And in this window, the student can add instructions. You can also add instructions if you'd like to. So you can add instructions, delete instructions. This is where you make most of the edits to the code. And lastly, if you actually run the code, then you'll have the output window, which will display the output of the code. So again, this is available to the students. The students see pretty much the exact same thing in regards to these three windows right here. It all just changes based on the exercise that they select. But moving on, I do want to get into the menu. So the main menu is on the upper left-hand side, and if you hover your mouse over it, you're going to notice that there's programs, course material, settings, support, and instructor. So instructor is the only tab that is available only to instructors. Students can pretty much see the same thing except for instructor. They will not be able to see that. You will be the only one to have access to that. And if you click or you hover over the instructor tab, then you can actually go to the left-hand side, right-hand side, and you will be able to select any of these options. So I'm going to go through them one by one, and I'm going to go from bottom to top. So the first one that I want to go over is the Manage User Accounts. And if you click on that, a new window will appear, and you will actually be able to see all of the accounts that are in your class. And these are all names of students. So for example, I do have a student here named Esther, and I made her student ID as student 12. And if I wanted to, I can easily just add a student. All I need to do is create a user ID, make a default password. You can choose to put in their first name, last name, and their role is going to be student. But I will not be doing that. However, if I wanted to, I can go ahead and edit Esther's account. So let's say, for example, my student Esther forgot her password, which it happens. I can actually just reset the password to anything. And I could just reset it to her first name, so that way Esther is able to log in a lot easier. So that is just one of the best ways for you to go ahead and reset a student's password. You will not have the ability to edit the student ID. However, you are able to edit the password. You're able to edit the first name and the last name, as well as the role. And that'll be it. You can update if you want to make any updates, but I'm going to go ahead and click cancel, and you can close this window. Next, there is the view and assess student work. Now, when a student submits assignments, you can actually go into the View and Assess Student Work tab to view and grade their work. So, for example, I'm going to go ahead into this Eckford student exercise. So I'm looking it up by exercise, and I can actually look at their names. So if I know my student's name is Freddie and I know I want to grade Freddie's work, and he was supposed to do the expert student exercise. Me as the instructor, I can see, okay, when was this exercise last updated? So it says here that it was last updated on the 19th of May, and I can go on over all the way to the right hand side, and you're going to see a column that says view/edit. And what I can do is I can click on the edit, the little pencil icon, and this is where it'll bring me to. So first, I can see that I'm an expert student for Freddie. I can provide a grade and some feedback. And I can see some of the students' design notes if they made any. Next, I can see the output. So this is amazing because instead of you having to go into the student's account, you can grade student work in one space. So that's very, very nice, and it makes it a lot quicker for you to grade work. And then you can also see all of the code. So what were the instructions that were added into the code? And on top of that, it gives you a quick analysis, which is amazing because let's say I had told Freddie, hey Freddie, I need you to add 2 loops into this code. Your code must have 2 loops. I already know right off the bat that Freddie did not add 2 loops because in the loop count I only see 1, meaning that he did not get a chance to add another one, and that could be feedback that I could give him. So I can say, okay, well, I'm going to give you an 85 because the purpose of this assignment was for you to add loops and make a schedule. He did make the schedule, however, he is missing one of the loops. So I can just go ahead and say, you are missing a loop, but otherwise, great work. Oops. There we go. So I can give him an 85 and I can update it. And there, the status will change for Freddie's Eckford student assignment. It will now say graded, and he has a grade of 85. And the amazing thing is that if I wanted to go in and change his grade because I made a mistake, I can go ahead and do so. Maybe Freddie says, oh, well, I didn't necessarily get a chance to do it, or I wasn't instructed to, or something like that. If you might have made a mistake as the instructor, you can go ahead and change that to a 90. You can make that lower, higher, and you're going to notice that it is updated in the system. So again, this is amazing because you can just scroll down this list and really just grade everyone's work, and you can access it all in one place. Next, if we go into the Instructor tab, you can actually set class parameters. Now, this is mainly for you to choose the commands that the student can see. So if you look at class parameters, I can change the level of difficulty for the command. So this is automatically. Automatically, all of my exercises can be set to a certain level, 0 being like the easiest level, there are little to no commands, and then 10 being a level that has all of the more difficult commands. So the default that I had set was 9. And we also have our own programming language here at Pathway to Code, and it's called P2C. But if you wanted to, you could display Java or Python. It is really up to you. But Pathway to Code, the coding language, or P2C, is actually made to be a little bit more readable for the student. So the student can look at the code and get a gist of what exactly the code is doing. And lastly, you are able to add images for the student, you can select an image that you want the student to be able to use. If you make any changes, you can save, but I will not be making any changes, so I will just close the window. Next, I am in Manage Exercises. So here, what I can do as the instructor is I can manage all of the exercises that are available to the student. So to start off, I'm going to go ahead and look at the Eckford exercise. So I know that the Eckford exercise is called Eckford Student. I know that it's in the world graphics. The exercise type is assignment, meaning that the student has the option to submit this exercise to me. The level is 9, meaning that they have up to level 9 commands. There is a preview description. If you do click on this, it'll open up another window, and this window will give you a description, or it'll actually give you the activity description depending on if you are doing an exercise or if you are doing a lesson. And we'll get into lessons a little bit later on. But essentially for the exercise, it'll really just give you an activity description. And you can delete the exercise if you'd like, or you can go ahead and edit it, which is what I'm going to do. And this is the window that you'll see pop up. So going from top to bottom, this is just the student name. This is just the exercise name. Next, you can pick the world that it's in. So I just selected it as graphics. You can pick the exercise type. So there are 4 exercise types. There is the assignment, there is the class exercise, there is the quiz, and the test. Next, we have the student access. Pause, go back to this exercise type. So what these exercises do is, if it's an assignment, the student has the option to submit. If it is a class exercise, the student does not have the option to submit. And then you can select it to be a quiz or a test. Next, for the student access, the student has 3 options. So they can either save and update, meaning that they can open it, they can make changes to it, save it, update, come back to it later. They also have the option of inquiry only, which I believe only takes in 1 submission. And lastly, there is the hidden, which the student is not allowed to see the exercise whatsoever until you allow it to be viewable. And you can do so if it's a test by making it inquiry only. And then next you can pick the topics. For this one, it's not necessary, so I'm just going to pick none. Next, the highest level. I kind of went over that in the previous tab, but it allows you to pick the complexity of the commands. So for example, if I know my students haven't really done a lot of if statements, then I could just go ahead and set it to, okay, well, we're still working on inputs, and then I can pick when it's available, when it's displayed, when it's going to be removed from the student so the student can no longer see it, and then when the assignment is due. And then over here, I can actually edit the title. And then lastly, this is where the exercise is selected. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and click cancel. And if you notice, I didn't go over the exercise bank, and this is why. If you add a new exercise, all of the options that I had just went over, you can go ahead and set those. But let us say you want an exercise, but you don't necessarily want to make one from scratch, right? What you can do is you can actually go to View Exercise Bank, and you can pick from the many exercises that are available to you. And these exercises were actually made by the administrator of the Pathway to Code site. So let's say, for example, I want snowman. I like the snowman, right? I select snowman, and you're going to notice here that now it says snowman.html. So that means that it's successfully selected the snowman. So I can make the title, right? Or the text. So I'm going to say here, change the color of the snowman. Next, I am going to go ahead and choose the level. So it automatically set a display period for me and a due date. If you wanted to change that, you could do so by clicking on the calendar. Let's say it's due on the 7th. And then if I want to change the time, I want the time to be 11 p.m. I can pick the highest level, and I know already because I've done this before that this is mainly graphics. So I'm going to click on graphics so that they only have access to the commands that are related to graphics, and then also the commands for level 0, 1. So they have access to commands that are level 0, 1, and 2. Next, I'm going to pick the topic as graphics. I'm going to say that this will actually be a test. So I'm going to put inquiry only. I'm going to make it a test. Graphics, snowman, and I can put the word test so they can see it a little bit better. And I can go ahead and say insert. And you're going to notice that now it says snowman test right here. And the student now has access to go ahead and take that test. Because I did make it inquiry only, if I had made it hidden, the student wouldn't be able to see it until I made it inquiry only. So once the student takes the test, then I can go and grade it in the way that I had showed you previously. And that's pretty much it. I added my own exercise using the exercise bank. Moving on, last but not least, I'm going to go to organize lessons. Now this looks very familiar to the exercise, to the manage exercise tab. However, the difference is that now we're in lessons. So you can preview description, except this will actually open up a PDF because these were lessons that were done by the administrator. And then you can click on, if you wanted to delete it, you could, but if you wanted to edit it, this looks significantly different from the window when you are managing the exercises, right? Or you're editing an exercise. So when you open up this window, you have the option to change the lesson number, change the lesson name, and you can pretty much select the topic that you want. And then once you do so, you can update, and your updates will be shown, and that's pretty much it. If you wanted to, you could also add a lesson. It works in the same way, except let's say I want to do repetition. I'm going to do repetition. Oh, I'm going to change this to L20. And the lesson name will be repetition. So I'm going to go ahead and insert, and you're going to notice that now the exercise is available. It is called L20 repetition, and the student would be able to have access to it. Now I can click on close window, and I went over all of these very, very important tabs. Now, if you actually look on the right hand side, you're going to notice that I have two drop downs, but these drop downs are actually for you to view student work on the 3 windows that are available. So let's say I want to check Owen's work. She did do tic-tac-toe, so I can do that. I click on that. Or I can click on her Eckford student. And now I click on tic-tac-toe. And here I can actually see some of the work that Owen had done. So I can go ahead and run it. And one of the requirements for this assignment was to make X or O a winner, and she did that. So now I know that Owen had submitted her work. I can look at her design notes. These design notes were actually done by the instructor, but the student can actually see these design notes as well. If they wanted to add their own, they could. And this is the output. And the benefit of this is you just see it on the bigger screen. If the smaller screen is a little bit too much for you, if you have that window where you are actually grading the student assignments, then this is how you could do it if you wanted to. All in all, if you want more information on how to actually use the platform in regards to adding instructions into your code, if you wanted to look at how to use functions and etc., there is a playlist that will be available for you. But if you are watching this on YouTube, you can go ahead and check the description below and you should be able to see the links to those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this was really helpful for you as an instructor.